We're on page Lamed. We're on page Lamed where it says Ubir Ha'inyan. What we began learning yesterday was that there's the Amunah of Yidden and there's the Amunah of Ummas Ha'olam. The Amunah of Ummas Ha'olam is just regarding Maamar Kalam. The Rebbe mentioned you have Chachmas Achkira, Lahavdil, even Goyim have philosophy and all kinds of other ways and sciences that they could investigate and see and come to the conclusion that there's a creator and see the investment of the creator in the world. That's Lahavdil the Goyim, page Lamed. When it comes to the Yidden though, Yidden are Maminim, B'nei Maminim, they have a Munah and something that's much greater than the existence of the world. Let's continue inside. Got it? Lamed. Right there. Second paragraph. So the explanation here is that's something that any human mind should be able to relate to, comprehend the fact that there must be a creator, there must be an energy behind everything that's in this world. That's everyone could get that. That's a level of Amunah that relates to Maamar Kalam. Maamar, as the Gemara says, Man neshama mamalas aguf, just as the Eibishter fills the entire world, kacha Kadosh Baruch Hu mamalas ha'olam, so too the Eibishter fills the entire world. Adam nikra olam katan, human being is referred to as a small world. The ha'olam nikra guf gadol, and the entire world is a large body. So the same way that you have chayas in every single limb in the body, the same way every single item in the world has the chayas of the Eibishter. And therefore, just as it's true with the neshama that fills the body. The physical flesh of the body on its own is like a rock that has no life to it. The entire life of the guf comes from the soul. Any movement, any life that you see in the world comes from the godly energy that's in it. Though whatever evidence you have to life, to the fact that there's a neshama that's inside a body, the same evidence you have also regarding all the movement and life that we see in the world, that there has to be a godly energy inside everything. However, although this is something that you could relate to, that you can understand with your seichel, you still have to use a munah to connect to this, to understand this. Why a munah? If we just finish saying that this is something that's logical, this is something that everybody can understand and relate to and see just by looking at the life and the sign of movement and everything that goes on, so what do you need a munah for this? The answer is the physical, the mortal, the physical being that you see of the body, that covers over what seichel tells you about the chayes that's invested inside of it. As you can clearly see, when a person is very immersed in his own lusts and desires, God forbid, a person's conduct is not necessarily logical and doesn't make sense. It's a hepech haseichel altogether. So the fact that there's a logical proof to a creator, the fact that there's a logical proof to the existence of the chayes of the Eibishter and the daimim, tzemeach, chayim, adaber, and everything, just because it's logical, it doesn't mean that the person actually believes it and the person behaves according to that amunah. If a person's mind is way too immersed and focused on the gashmis and the physical aspect of existence, so that's the only thing he'll focus on. That's the only thing he'll connect to. And the rest, and the amunah of the energy of the Eibishter that's in it, he'll forget about that. As we see, when a person is involved in taivis, so then you do things that are hepech haseichel. Not only will a person do things that are hepech the seichel of the neshama, the seichel of a yid. So this is the famous statement of the Gemara. A person will not do an aveda unless a spirit of foolishness overcomes him. The simple, plain seichel of even lahavdil a goy, that even the nefesh Bahamas, even lower than that, even a goy has, to use his mind to see and analyze and understand. V'hainu taivus When a person is immersed in his own taivas, so they take control, dominion over the whole life of the person, and the conclusions of his seichel have no bearing on any of his behavior at all. So if a person does not employ a munah, which is to connect to the truth, then the fact that the truth is that logically he knows that the Eibush does everything won't help anything. You have to have something that connects you to that, something that lifts you up out of the gashmias of the world to focus on that. Therefore, just the fact that you could explain it to a person and he'll understand it logically that the Eibush is here and in everything, that's not going to do it. That's not enough to affect the person. The tzarich liya is gam minyan ha'amunah. It has to go deeper than just understanding. If it runs deeper, it's something that the person believes and it's rooted deeper in the person, then that will have a stronger koyach to affect him. This is the kind of thing that's understood even according to seichel. It's very interesting if you notice what the Rebbe is saying here. It's sort of an opposite point of what we learned before in this Maamar and the previous Maamar, because usually what it tells us is that when a person understands something of pi amunah, so that will not affect your behavior, because amunah is makif, and therefore you have to take that amunah and internalize it and connect to it, and then it could affect you and transform you. Here the Rebbe is making an opposite point. It's the same thing the other way around. If a person only gets things al pi seichel logically, that he philosophically understands that this is right, it won't necessarily change your behavior either. Okay, so I have a philosophical conviction about something. Does that mean that my behavior has to be according to that? There's the famous story they say about Aristotle, that was one of the biggest thinkers of all time, that they saw him acting in a way that was not becoming to him. And they asked him, Tachan, such a great person like you, such a great philosopher, and you also teach us about behavior and the midas of a person, and v'chulu, and this is how you act. So he answered them, Jetzt bin ich nicht Aristotle. At this moment, I'm not Aristotle. Now I'm taking time off of being who I'm supposed to be. Which means that with all of his great chachma, it didn't actually not necessity. The person doesn't feel obligated to act the way he's supposed to. Right? So as much as amunah needs seichel, seichel needs amunah as well. If a person just has a conviction or a philosophy about something, it doesn't necessarily affect the person's behavior at all. Now the Rebbe comes to the other level of amunah. However, then there's a completely different type of amunah, which is the amunah on the level of seviv kalaman. The b'china seviv kalaman hu l'mayla min ha'olamus. When it comes to seviv kalaman, that is something that is completely removed of the existence of any olamus. The seviv u'makiv is called b'shaveh, and therefore it's called seviv, that it encompasses everything equally. The like my b'chinas mamal kalaman. Sheyesh by his chalkus ben olam la'olam. In mamal kalaman, where there's a limitation and there's a division, the energy is divided up in each level accordingly what that level could handle. Seviv kalaman is all encompassing and it's all of the worlds equally. Rebbe continues on the next page, page Lamed Aleph, Hadug Melizeh ben Nefesh. Just as we said before, you can see in the human body, so the same thing is also. You can see in the person regarding the chayas that a person has, who in a chayas klali, there is the general life, shem chayas aguf, that gives the person a chayas, that he's alive, kuloi, his aguf kuloi, the entire body, ba'ashva, equally, bali is chalkus, without any division, beirosh v'regel, from head to toe. The fact that the person is alive, the very fact that there's a living organ in him and he's alive, his heart, his head, his brain, his feet, his toenails, the fact that it's alive, that fact is the same from head to toe. The particular function of one organ over another, or of one limb over another, that's very specific. The eyes to see and the heart to pump the blood, and everything has its particular function. But the very fact that a person is alive, that's the same by everything. That's a chayas klali. So the same is also in the world. There is a chayas klali that's the source of creation. That's the energy of all the items together. And therefore, Yidden are referred to as believers. Because the Yidden have amunah, that there's an existence of chayas of the Eibishter that's above the limited beings of the world. They believe in Seviv Kalam. That's something that you can't connect to Al Pi Seichel. That's when you look at something begashmius and you see the movement, the life in it. So then you can deduce from that there has to be a spiritual energy inside of it. But if you're talking about Seiv Kalaman, and you're saying that there's from Natzilus and Asiyah, from the highest to the lowest, Bishava, that the Eivishter encompasses everything equally, that's something that the Seichel can't fathom. That's something that the Seichel can't conclude that exists. And that, for that, you didn't have a Munah. But then there's even a greater level of Amunah. The fact that you even believe in the existence of the Eibishter, that's even beyond Seiv Kalaman. Even the level of Seiv Kalaman has somewhat of a connection to the existence of the world. Not a direct connection like Maamar Kalaman, where the particular nature in Maamar Kalaman, the particular nature of every being is based on the level of chayes that it has. So on the level of Maamar Kalaman, there's a direct correlation between the Ruchnis the chayes and the Gashmis the existence. When it comes to Seiv Kalaman, it does not have that direct relation. But still, the very fact that by Seiv Kalaman you say that it encompasses all the worlds equally and it does not relate to any particular world means that it has a connection. That it's the source, the general source of chayes of the entire world. Then we go ahead and negate, and we say not each particular nature and function of each thing, but it has a connection to the world in general. The Kiv and Shaimrim, so since we say Shebchinuzu Eina Begeder Almen, that Seiv Kalaman is a level that's not defined to the existence of each particular world, Hare Av Sheina Begeder Elmes, although this is a level that cannot be limited and defined by the existence of any Elmes, Mekol Makim. However, the very fact that we're talking about an expression, a chayas, a life of the Eibishter, and then we clarify that this is a level that's beyond the existence of the world, so this is a connection that comes out in a negative sense, that you have to say that two things don't have a connection. There's the famous mashal that the Alter Rebbe says for this in Tanya. A person would never come and say that this chachma is amuka, that you have a chachma that's so deep and so insightful and so unbelievable that that this is a chachma that you can't touch with your hands. The chush mishush, to touch, and the chush to understand the dvar seichel are two different worlds. It's gashmis and ruchnis. So to describe the depth of chachma, you're not going to negate the fact that it's untouchable. It's not shaykh b'chlal. So the same thing over here regarding Seiv Kalaman. The very fact that we're saying that there's Almin, and then there's this Eir, and this Eir doesn't relate to a particular Eilam. It's Seiv of all Eilamis, that means that it has to have some kind of a connection to the existence of Eilamis. However, the expression that's used in Chassidus that comes from Torah Eir, the Alter Rebbe says, in a Maamar Torah in Megillas Esther, that's quoted very often. This is not the main definition of the existence of Hashem, the fact that He's the Bashefer, He's the creator of the world, the Baira. So that's not expressing who the Eibishter Himself is. Moving from this we understand Shatzmu, so Muhusi is Baraf, the very essence of the Eibishter Himself. The Eibishter is removed of having any relation whatsoever to the existence of the world, including any relation where you negate and say that He's above the worlds. The Eibush is completely removed of it, where there's absolutely no relation whatsoever in any way. The fact that Yidden are referred to as believers, the son of believers, it's because the Yidden believe in the very essence of the Eibishter, above the level of Seiv Kalaman. This is a Yerusha that comes from Avram Avinu, Reish Lamaminim, the head, the beginning, the father of all believers, that we all get our Amunah from. The Rebbe is saying here a pshat in the Lashon of the Gemara, Maminim b'nei Maminim, that the first word Maminim refers to Seiv Kalaman. What's the added emphasis of b'nei Maminim? What's gesagt Maminim? Why do we add again b'nei Maminim? To hint to the fact that there's two layers to the Amunah of a Yid. Besides the Amunah l'havdol that there is by a Goy, that's not being mentioned here at all. Amunah Maamar Kalaman, that's something that you can come to al pi seichel. But even in the Amunah that you can't come to al pi seichel, there are two levels. Seiv Kalaman, and then even furthermore, in the very essence of the Eibishter, b'nei Maminim that comes from Avram Avinu. Yes, lohisif ter. I need another point here. Shigam be'emunah b'b'chinas mamala kalam, and even as far as the belief that we have in the existence of the Eibishter that's here, invested in this world, on a level of mamala kalam. And so over here we just said that Yid does not have to have a munah. For this, all Yidden Goyim are all the same l'chayra, because that's something that logically you can conclude and see. Over here as well, the Rebbe says, Yesh hefresh ben Yisrael lo Mesaylam. There still is a distinction between the Yid and the Goy, how you relate to this. And this is similar to what is explained. She'ein daime olam ha'asiyah shebibiyah la'asiyah shebatzilus. You can't compare it to the world of Asiyah once it comes out and it exists within the worlds of Biyah, to Asiyah as it is in its source in Atzilus before it comes out into Biyah. Kamuvam bepashtus, as you can simply understand, Mizeh sheyesh parsa ben Atzilus lebiyah. There's a curtain, there's a separation between the world of Atzilus and Biyah. Whatever revelation of godliness exists after the world of Atzilus is so different and so separated from what exists before Atzilus that it's referred to as a new revelation, as if it's something new. Although, of course, everything comes from the original source, Lamaila, but there's such a strong separation. It's like when you have a curtain and there's light that comes through that curtain. So the curtain was there to fully separate the light from one room and another, and then whatever comes through into another room, it's like separate light from what was in the room behind the curtain. So that's just a mashal, of course. So the same thing also, whatever exists in the Olam is biyah, after Atzilus is like a completely new reality. So when you have the existence of the world of Asiyah here below, and you have the existence of Asiyah in its source in Atzilus, everything that comes out later exists in its potential form in the world of Atzilus. So over here as well, the same thing is also regarding the fact that there's a munah in Mamala Kalam. Since Yidden's Amunah and the Eibishter goes way beyond Mamala Kalam, they have a connection to Yidden, believe in the greatness of the Eibishter that's on the level of Seivim. And then the Yidden believe and are connected to the very essence of the Eibishter that's even higher than that. Even the level of Amunah that Yidden have in the existence of the Eibishter that's here, invested and limited within creation, is also on a completely higher level. So it's not the same as it is by a guy. So it comes out as none of the Amunah of a Yid could be compared to the Amunah of a guy. It's not like a Yid is, so to say, 20% like a guy in as far as his Amunah is concerned, and then the Yid goes beyond that, the rest of his Amunah, there he's higher than a guy. The Amunah of a Yid on any level of his connection to the Eibishter has nothing to do with the Amunah of a guy, including the level of a Malach Alama. So the Rebbe will explain this over here in the Hamshul Maamar. Huh?
What's the comparison with the Parsa and the Tzilus?
The Rebbe is making the point that even when you talk about Mamala Kalaman itself, Mamala Kalaman has more than one layer of how to describe Mamala Kalaman. It's not as if there's one definition of the existence of Eira Mamala Kalaman, and there and in that energy, both Yidden and Goyim, the Havdol, have the Amunah, and therefore it's the same. So the Rebbe is bringing you an example for the idea that when you talk about Mamala Kalaman itself, there's layers in Mamala Kalaman. And the Goyim, their connection to Mamala Kalaman is what they can figure out with Chachmas Achkira, the Rebbe calls it, with sciences, that they can come with Seichel Anushi in the existence of the world. Mashenk and a Yid can reach a much deeper layer within Mamala Kalaman Gufa. That's the marshal that I was bringing here for this.
It comes from a Lakush Shana. It says in the Neshama, it's a Lakush Shana Nivra.
The Neshama of a Yid.
The Neshama of a Yid. Mashenk and even the Malachim, the Mamash Nivra. It's like the Klipa.
They don't have that ability that the Neshama has.
So they have to they always have to work from down up. Mashenk is like the kid who was born on the top of the mountain. The other people have to
climb all the way up to the top, and they come to the top, and he's there. Yeah, famous marshal. Okay, let's see a little weiter. So to explain this, how a Yid's Amunah is on a completely higher level, including regarding Mamala Kalaman. Hine, B'chinas Mamala Kalaman. Another term for Mamala Kalaman is Nikr B'Shem Dibur Elyon. Mamala is also referred to as the Eibishter speaking. The Kishem Shad Dibur B'Shvil Azulas, just as the case is when a person communicates. The point of speaking is to get a message across to somebody else. Hainu Shubchinas Gilu Yalazulas, Whatever he says is a communication to someone else, ubegeder azulas. And therefore, it's something that could be understood and received by somebody else. It's not something that it's internal or an experience within you yourself. There's the person's own experience within himself, and then there is the part of the person that's able to relate and give space to an existence outside of him, and then communicate to that entity outside of him. For oids, I see even more so, sheyesh by hefsik. When it comes to dibur, it's not something which is ongoing. There's a time to speak, but there's also a time to be quiet. Right? So besides the fact that there's an ace, but it's also a person can't constantly speak. The internal experience, whether emotional, whatever experience a person has going on inside of him, that's ongoing. That's the very entity of the person internally that he experiences within himself. Then there's the relation that one person has to another, which is that level in the person which is not me, it's not his internal experience. That gives space to another entity that he could communicate with someone else. So this explains why another term from a Malakal Almin is Dibur, Shuhu Agili Alazulas. This is the level of Alakos that gives space for the existence of something other than Hashem. Something should be able to appear as existing outside the Eibishter. V'yeshba Yischalkus, and there's division, there's levels. One level of existence, another level of existence. So this is all, the source of everything comes from Dibur. The Eibishter says, Mitzad the Eibishter, nothing else could emerge B'chlal as an existence. But because the Eibishter speaks, that allows for something else to even be recognized as something to communicate with. Right? By the Dibur of a human being, you don't create the Zulas through your Dibur. Your Dibur is that part of yourself that gives space that you could communicate with someone else, and you're not just living within your own bubble, within your own world. By the Eibishter, the very fact that there's an energy that's defined as Dibur creates and gives room for an existence that's outside of himself. Another term that's referred to in this term of Dibur. So we have Mamala Kalam and we have Dibur. Then another thing, Nikra B'Shem Ir Elokeinu. This is the city of God. That's another term that's used to describe Mamala Kalam and Dibur. Sheshayach L'Shem Elokim, and it relates to the name of Elokim, which is multiplicity. It's a name that's a plural term, and it gives room for the existence of a city of a big and many that exist, not just one entity. Hainu, meaning Shekash Hashem Avayo Behelim. The name Avaya gets concealed. Shem Elikim Ubegoloi, and it's the name Elikim that's functioning and that's revealed. As I Nikra Ir Elokeinu. Then what you have is not only the existence of a Zulas, of another entity that emerges outside of Hashem, but then you have an existence of an Ir Elokeinu, of a city that has many, many inhabitants in it. This is what's referred to as the world of Dibur. Even before you have the actual creation, but even within Dibur itself, in the source, the energy of the Eibishter, within Dibur, there's the source for many, 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 the existence that will come out, which is described as a city. This is as it's brought in Chassidus. This is the idea of when you have a city is made up of a house is made up of bricks. So you take one brick and you build a room, and then you build a house, and then you build many houses, and that gets you a full city. Same thing is also with the words that a person uses. There's letters that make up words, that make up sentences, that make up paragraphs, that make up an entire chapter, a book, and so on. So the same thing, the Eibishter Kaviyachal, within the Ruchni, the energy Lamaila, there is not just one Dibur, but there's the Dibur that's the source for all of the energy of the Eibishter that comes out. Now with this we can understand the Psaktim that's brought down in Chassidus. There's an argument amongst Paiskim about this, amongst Yishayim about this. But the actual Psaktim that the Ramah Paskins is Shebnei Noach le'netztavu ala shituf. Bnei Noach are not commanded on shituf. Shituf is where you believe that the Eibishter is the creator and he's the source of everything. But then there are other forces of nature that are combining forces to get the job done, to bring the energy of Hashem into the world and to run matters that have to be done within the world. That's the concept of shituf. So it's not that you don't believe in the fact that Eibishter created the world and he's the source of everything, but there's other forces that are joining along within nature to assist, so to speak. So Goyim are not commanded on shituf. Chayre seemingly ki v'she Yisrael nitztavu ala shituf. If Yidden are commanded not only not to Chas v'Shalom believe in Avodah Zarah, that there's another source for creation besides the Eibusher Chas v'Shalom. But Yidden also commanded to believe that there is no other source that assists along with the Eibusher, so to speak, to bring about things in creation. If Yidden are commanded on that, then what's the reason? Because this is the truth. Nothing else has any significance to assist and help the Eibusher in what he's doing. So why are the Goyim not commanded on this? Is it true or is it not true? Is it true that the Eibusher is the only source of everything? And in addition to that, nothing else has any power whatsoever. No, the Kechavim, the Mazalis, the Malachim, the Sodom, whatever there is Lamaila, have no significance of their own. If that's true, so then why is this an Emunah that's only related to Yidden and not to Goyim? The answer is the shaydish of their nefesh, the shaydish of their ruchti energy comes from a malakalam. So something that comes from a level of a mala, which is the world of dibur. That's a source of the Eibusher's energy that allows for the existence of a separation and divisions and levels. The Eibusher divided many different levels of energy. This is for all the nations. That's the source of where they come from. So regarding the Goyim, the way they view the energy of the Eibusher is that there's a source that allows for another entity to be divided and to be a separation. There's a zulas, there's another energy that exists. So that's the source of Shittuf. That is the Eibusher, the source of everything. And then there's other sources of energy as well. The Kadeleil and Kadelakaya. They refer to the Eibusher as the God of all gods. This is because the shaydish of existence by Goyim and the shaydish of existence in the world comes from a malakalam. But Yidden come from completely higher level. Because of the shaydish of where Yidden come from, so therefore the Yidden's Emunah is on a completely different level. As we'll see tomorrow, Mr. Shem.